guys, and welcome to today's episode of Down South. Well, today's episode is all about parenting, and you might be wondering in your minds, like, how is it like for someone who's grown up in a different part of the world and raising their kids in another part of the world? Well, today's guests are here to share their experiences, their joys, and everything around raising their kids in the UK. They originally grew up in South Africa to be specific. But today I'm joined by Nondwe and Lungile, and they're going to share with me what is it like raising your kids in a different part of the world. So, like many of us came here with certain aspirations, certain ideas of why we've moved here. But all of a sudden you find yourself with an offspring, you find yourself with little ones. So I'm just going to ask you to tell me, Lungile, when did you come to the UK? How did you move here from home with a certain idea of work or school, or what was it? How did you come here?
I was never supposed to come here.
Oh.
I forced myself to come here. I basically told my mom that I'm going to stop going to school unless she brings me here. And then I find myself here 20 years later, and I'm a parent of an 11-year-old daughter.
So you came here with your mother?
After my mother.
Okay, so you joined your mother in the UK. So basically you grew up in the UK.
Yeah.
Okay, so you basically understand your daughter to some extent, like the things that she's going through growing up, because you've experienced them on both parts. Okay, but Nondwe, your story is different a bit because you came here when you were
3.
When you were 3.
Yeah, I came here when I was 3. Well, in exile because my mum was part of the ANC. So then I came with my mum I was born in Lesotho, and then we went to Zambia, and then we came here when I was 3.
Okay. So for you guys, it was never an idea, Uti, where do I want to settle? You found yourselves here. So basically you having children here was going to be part of for you, but it was part of the plan for you because you found yourself here from when you were young.
Yeah.
So it was never an option, good, I'll have my kids elsewhere. You found yourself in the UK and you knew you can have your kids in the UK. But for you, Lungile, it was, you never thought you would raise kids?
I never thought I'd have the child in England.
Okay, so your plan was to
literally come here, study, then go back home and build my life there. Preferably have kids there, but it never worked out as planned.
Okay. So I just want you to share with me, one thing I've realized is that, okay, your kids were born here.
Yeah.
Yes.
But one thing I admire, and I must say, your kids have got names from home.
Yeah. Oh, that was a must.
Why do you say it was a must?
For me personally, I feel like it's important for your child to have a name that means something. You know, you just don't want to just name your child to make other people comfortable, make it easier for other people to say their names, because other people say, oh, but how are they going to pronounce that? Yeah. That's not my problem. As long as when someone says, oh, what does your name mean? They can say what it means. Then it's not funny anymore because it has meaning.
Okay. So for people who grew up, okay, so you Lungile, you Nondwe, so you had the experience of being in a British crowd and people having to pronounce your name. So by the time you had your kids here, you knew that it doesn't matter. I will give my child that name.
Exactly.
Oh,
and
nice.
You just have to learn to say
And what's your daughter's name?
Bushle.
Oh my goodness, they must struggle with that.
Yes, they do. But the good thing is that she always tells them that, no, it's not boucle, it's not blue clay, it's Bushle. And she literally tell them that if I can say Sophie and Sarah, you can at least try to say Bushle.
What, she says that?
Yeah. But
she was born here.
She was born here.
Okay, so how did you do that? How did you instill? Because it sounds like she's still got culture yasekaya. Do you know what I mean?
From day one, we always spoke to her in Zulu. Both myself and my mother spoke to her in Zulu. The only thing is when she started school, she had to, from primary school, had to take English as a foreign language, regardless of the fact that she was born here, because all she spoke was Zulu. And then coming to join school, everything was in English. So she had to then adjust to, okay, this is how I say this in Zulu, but then in English it might mean something completely different. But then she goes home, within a week, she's fluent in Zulu again.
So from the time, from birth, from growing up at home, in your home here in the UK, you spoke
in
Zulu to her. Oh, wow. But then can she speak Zulu?
Well, now she doesn't speak fluent Zulu. There's words like here and there, she'll say things in Zulu, but when I do, reprimand her, it's always in Zulu. and she knows. I'll always speak to her in Zulu and she understands Zulu, but there's certain words that she can't say in Zulu, but she does understand Zulu.
But then, do you know what? There's one thing I admire about you, Nondu. I mean, I've known you for a couple of years now, but when but when someone meets you, they would never say that you grew up here because you still kept your culture. You hang around in
Southern
African circles. So what happened with you? Did you speak at home? Like,
when I came, I was fluent in Xhosa and Sotho. When I moved here, but I lost the Sotho along the way. I guess it's because the people were around. There wasn't that many people still speaking it, and my mum only spoke it because we were in Lesotho. But when we got here, it was just Xhosa. And then she's always spoken in Xhosa to me, you know. So English was never really a thing that we spoke in the house.
Oh, wow.
So
when you had Leander, what happened then?
With Leander, to be honest, I wish I had stayed speaking Xhosa because I didn't. But because he grew up with my mum, he understands, but he can't necessarily speak it. So sometimes if you think you're gossiping and you're talking about him, he'll come to you later and say, you know what you said earlier? I thought you didn't understand them. So, well, he'll never admit that he understands.
So what do you guys think is the most difficult thing? Because like when people see our like kids born in it and then we take them home, they often have they wonder, why can't you speak your own? Why English? Do you know what I mean? So what do you think your hardest challenge has been? Yes, they understand, but why can't they speak? Because I've met like children from other cultures, like Arabic, and they can switch just like that. But even with myself, I'm asking you, what was the challenge? Why can they only hear? Why can't they speak?
Personally, I think with the Southern African people, we don't have, as opposed to Ghanaians and Nigerians, they have literally their whole family.
That's so true.
Yeah. So you can speak in the house and then you go visit auntie so-and-so and uncle so-and-so. Whereas Tina, like me personally, it's just myself and my mother and my daughter. So the only time she gets to interact with cousins and my aunts and uncles and whatnot is when we go home, which is only once a year for 6 weeks. Whereas other cultures, it's there and it's constant, whether be it in East Africa or Europe somewhere, it's always constant and it's there.
Okay, I guess. And for you, is it the same?
It's the same, definitely.
Okay, but then your mother spoke it to you.
That's the difference. When I was younger, because it was like a lot of people who came in exile, we were like a family. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, like what Lungile is saying. So
there was a group and everyone had that common ground, that common fight. Do you know what I mean? So everyone supported each other.
I get it. So that plays a big part. And I think because people don't understand, we're still a growing community abroad. Do you know what I mean? Whereas other regions have always been there for a long time. You know, we that generation that is still growing and still becoming bigger. So our children will be those trials, and you know what I mean. They won't be there yet, like born. Okay. So tell me what you were raised back home, Lungi.
Yes.
And obviously there's certain like behaviors, there's certain things that are just unacceptable being raised ekaya. Do you know what I mean by an African mom? What challenges are you facing now? Would you say with culture-wise that you say no, that's not accepted, but because you're not here in Britain, it's a no. Do you understand?
Yeah. Well, I was in boarding school at home and when I got here, so in a way, I didn't have my mom to say to me, hey, you can't wear this, or you can't do this, you can't go here, or you can't do it. So when my friends were going out to the cinema and going out to do whatever, I couldn't because I was in boarding school. I was only back home during the weekend, of which I had my aunt living with me. So when I am there, it's sort of like, okay, you need to learn how to polish your shoes. You need to do this.
Cook.
You need to clean. Exactly. Of which, I mean, there's certain things that I still can't do because my cousins did every single day and I only did on weekends.
But you know that they're supposed to be done because you were raised by an African parent.
Exactly. So when I now tell my daughter, okay, Buhle, you need to learn how to do this. but my friend doesn't do it. I don't care. Your friend doesn't live in my house. So if your friend doesn't do it, it does not necessarily mean you can't do it. If your friend has X, Y, and Z living with them, there's someone else there to do it for them. It's just the two of us. So if I'm not there to do it for you, you need to learn to do it for yourself.
Okay. So you would say that you still have got that mentality of raising. You haven't adapted to
Oh no, I don't think
the English style of raising. Okay, well I get it. Just on a I don't know if it's a pass. Raising her as a single mom in a different country, share your experiences.
Well, I don't know any different, to be fair. So for me, raising her, that's all I know, and that's all I have to do.
But I mean, like things like support, family support, like you can't. It's different, and you can't
like I said,
just.
it's just me and my
next
mother.
door.
No,
Exactly. We don't
You
have
need
that
to
yet.
sort of make an appointment. If my daughter needs to go to the park, or if I need to call you and say, oh,
And
Steffi,
say,
by the way,
Yeah.
it's Friday. Are you available to go to
Guys,
the
that's
park?
how we raise our kids.
Whereas-
You can't just drop them
Exactly.
next door.
Whereas Ekaya, after school transport drops you, the whole street is out playing. All the kids are outside playing. She just knows that drop things off here, go outside, play. As soon as the street lights come on, you need to go back in the house. Which is exactly what she does. When we go on holiday, she does not touch technology at all. She's always out in the street. You literally have to say to her, okay, Buhle, it's time to take a bath. Buhle, it's time to have lunch. Buhle, you need to come back for dinner. And it's a struggle because here she's in the house, she's got her iPad. I have to make appointments for her to have a play date or something. But whereas at home, it's just literally she's free.
So it is different in that aspect.
Yeah,
Whereas
definitely.
if you had like there's no community-wise,
No.
you can't just leave it. So you find that they're always indoors.
Yes.
They're stuck with technology. But then I must say something. We might complain about it, but I remember when I took the kids, technology-wise they're advanced. So when they get to another part of the world, they're like, oh, I can do. Do you know what I mean? So it's got its benefits,
Yeah.
but then when they do go home, they experience that childhood
Yeah.
that they can't
Right.
fully. So that is
Oh,
a
yes,
sort
definitely.
of a
Yeah.
challenge. Okay, no, I get it. Another thing I wanted to just touch on is education-wise.
Mhm.
You grew up here. You
Yeah.
went to school here.
Mhm.
Leander
Here as well.
here as well.
Mhm.
So there's not much difference. So
No.
you wouldn't know.
But I can say, I feel like definitely the education system here is not that great. It's not.
I didn't say it.
It's really not, because to me, I feel like at home, they have to pass to keep.
To get to the
keep,
next level.
understand?
to
So
keep,
you'll
to
be
keep,
there
that's
thinking,
true.
okay, your child is going
It's
up and
doing
up and
well.
up and up, and really and truly, your child may not even know
It's
much.
true. And another challenge. Oh, guys, that's a system we have here. There is no passing
Mhm.
grade. Like Nondo is explaining, you just move to the next grade.
Automatically.
You just automatically, without failing, without passing, you just
just
move
a
to the
higher
next
and a
grade.
lower.
So that has been a challenge. So you have to be a teacher at home.
Yeah,
That's what I
definitely.
realized.
Yeah.
So they go to school, but now at home you get to be a teacher, and it's just you don't remember your maths, your algebra.
no,
exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I don't remember my even science and all that
No.
stuff. But if you want your child to get to a certain level of
Mhm.
education, you have to
put
keep
in
up.
time.
I understand. Okay, no, that's cool. So I'm about to wrap up, guys, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm just gonna. Oh no, actually, there's one thing that I wanted to also raise. We're talking about the whole education and school system. Don't you think that, like, they start high school at a young age, isn't it?
Mhm.
Don't you feel like you've got an 11-year-old teenager in the house, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you think the timing of school, or when they start school, does that affect their behavior-wise as well? Because if you've got an 11-year-old starting high school, that's
Yeah.
like having a teenager in your
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
I think it does.
It
I think
really
more
is.
so for you because you have a girl.
Listen, first thing I said was,
They wear
if you
makeup
roll
now.
your skirt up,
That's
you and I are going to have problems. You don't roll your, because she's tall and she's got long legs.
Mhm.
So there's no need to roll your skirt up, because if your friend is rolling up, it's above the knees. Yours is already above the knees. So why are you rolling up for?
Mhm.
So you
No makeup, no handbag, school bag.
But then here, makeup is allowed in high school.
Not in my house.
Okay.
No. I was 23 when I put makeup on my face, so she's going to have to wait.
Okay. And then with the boys, there's certain challenges. the crowds you keep. There's gang crimes at the moment. Just parenting on its own is just a whole. So having that's what I'm saying. Having an 11, 12-year-old in high school, because obviously your behavior is going to change into a high school mentality. Do you know what I mean? And you're only 12, you're only 11, and you're going to want to be in certain crowds. You're going to want to go to certain parties because that's where the parties start. So how do you tell a 12-year-old that no, you can't go? Actually, no, you or do you feel as well pressured as a mom that if they don't go, then I'll feel like I'm depriving them of.
It depends, really.
So do they go to parties?
I'm very grateful that I have my mom. Like I've always, from a very young age, I've always said I don't want to be like my mom because my mom is very strict. But I'm exactly what my mom is. So she goes. She goes, like, if I don't know the parents and you want to go to a sleepover, I don't know what house you're going into. I don't know what is happening in that house, what soap they use or whatever. So you can't just go willy-nilly and just go, okay, mommy, I'm going for a sleepover. No, I don't know these people. I've never met them, even just going to school to pick you up or for parents' evening. I don't know who they are. So if I'm sending you over to someone's house, who's to say you're going to come back? Or if you come back, are you going to still be in the same frame of mind? Do you know what I mean? Whereas my mom always say, so whatever it is that she wants to do there, she can do here.
So
if she wants to go to the movies, take her to the movies.
Does she go to parties?
She does, but I need to know the parents. She's 11.
So she's 11. She's only in year 7. And now she's introduced you to this whole different world. Mommy, there's a party, there's a this.
But if I don't know the parents and you've never spoken to me about John and John's got a party, why are you going to John's party when you've never said anything about John in the house?
How do you handle that situation?
For me, I haven't even had that struggle because Leander is very, very aware and he talks to me about everything. So a lot of the time, if he knows there's something that I'm not even going to entertain, he won't even come to me with it. So he hasn't really. There's been parties, but it's more like his close friends.
What year is he?
He's in year 8 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's always kept a very close circle of friends, and he doesn't like to go outside of it because of the area that we live in. It's quite rough, do you know what I mean? So for him, he likes to stay in that comfort zone because if he steps out of it, he's not sure what will happen, so.
Oh, wow. So we've just learned today that, parenting in a different part of the world can have its challenging, and especially you being raised by a different culture. So these women have done incredibly well, ladies. I give it to you. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope it's answered a lot of questions about why abantwana abahlala kwindawo ezithile can't speak certain languages. They can understand, And so thank you. So guys, just before we wrap up, we're just going to play a short game. I'm going to say something, and then you continue from it. Yeah?
Okay.
And then Lungile, you're going to close it.
Wrap it up.
You're going to wrap it. So I'm going to say one word, you say the other, and then you close it. Okay. Moms.
Oh, incredible.
Ooh, so you have that. Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning into Down South. Please do subscribe and join us in the next episode. Thank you.